the ongoing protest following the passing of the Finance Bill, National Assembly Bill number 30 of 2024 on the 25th of June 2024 by the National Assembly, the loss of lives, maiming and loss of property that has been occasioned by the following these protests, cognizant that pursuant to Article 115(1)(b) of the Constitution, His Excellency the President of the Republic of Kenya declined to assent to the bill and referred it back to the National Assembly with recommendations to delete all clauses of the bill, further acknowledging that the conversation on the Finance Bill has triggered a broader, important public conversation on the question of the high cost of living, juxtaposed against the wasteful expenditure in all public institutions, Parliament included. Further acknowledging that the issues raised by the young people and other members of the public to do with corruption, impunity, incompetence within the state and public appointments, opulent lifestyle of public officials, unemployment, and high cost of living, among other issues bedeviling our country. Now, therefore, the Senate calls upon 1. The National Assembly to expeditiously consider the presidential memorandum pursuant to Article 115(2)(a). 2. All government ministries, departments and agencies and constitutional commissions, including Parliament, to put in place austerity measures in undertaking their respective functions. 3. The Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission and other government multi-sector agencies in the governance, justice and law and order sector to upscale and make concerted effort to fight corruption. 4. The National Police Service to cease abductions, unlawful arrest, extrajudicial killings and other exercise restraint in dealing with peaceful and unarmed demonstrators. 5. Release of all persons arrested for planning and participating in peaceful demonstrations relating to the enactment of the Finance Bill. 6. The government to waive the hospital bills for persons who have been injured and defray funeral expenses for those who have lost their lives during the demonstration. And 7. The judiciary to prioritize and expedite all court cases relating to the enactment of the Finance Bill and resultant demonstrations. 2. Consider all the challenges facing the country and make the necessary recommendations to address them.
Next order.
Order number 7, questions and statements. Order number 8, motion, the current state of the nation.
Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I beg to move the following motion, that the current state of the nation, recognizing the state of the nation at this moment, the ongoing protest following the passing of the Finance Bill, National Assembly Bill number 30 of 2024 on the 25th of June 2024 by the National Assembly, the loss of lives, maiming and loss of property that has been occasioned following these protests, cognizant that pursuant to Article 115(1) of the Constitution, His Excellency the President of the Republic of Kenya declined to assent to the bill and referred it back to the National Assembly with recommendations to delete all clauses of the bill, acknowledging that the conversation on the Finance Bill has triggered a broader important public conversation on the question of the high cost of living juxtaposed against the wasteful expenditure in all public institutions, including Parliament, further acknowledging the issues raised by the youth and other members of the public to do with corruption, impunity, incompetence within state and public appointments, opulent lifestyles of public officials, unemployment and high cost of living, among other issues bedeviling the economy. Now, therefore, the Senate, 1, calls upon the National Assembly to expeditiously consider the presidential memorandum pursuant to Article 115(2)(a). B, all government ministries, departments and agencies and constitutional commissions, including Parliament, to put in place austerity measures in undertaking their respective functions. 3, the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission and other government multi-sector agencies in the governance, justice, law and order sector to upscale and make concerted efforts to fight corruption. 4, the National Police Service to seize abductions, unlawful arrest, extrajudicial killings, and exercise restraint in dealing with the peaceful and unarmed demonstrators. E, release of all persons arrested for planning and participating in the peaceful demonstrations relating to the enactment of the finance bill. F, the government to waive hospital bills for persons who have been injured and defray funeral expenses for those who lost their lives during the demonstration. And G, the judiciary to prioritize and expedite all court cases relating to the enactment of the finance bill and resultant demonstration. 2, consider all the challenges facing the country and make necessary recommendations to address them. Mr. Speaker, sir, we are gathered here this morning, and I wish to appreciate the fact that before the commencement of the sitting this morning, you led us as a House to, in a minute of silence, reflect and think deeper on the issues that our country faces at this particular moment. And we particularly took time to commiserate and feel the pain and the burden that it is with the families and friends of, as per the count of the Kenya National Commission of Human Rights, 39 persons that have so far lost their lives in the last 2 weeks, Mr. Speaker, as we've had these demonstrations. Mr. Speaker, we acknowledge as a House, and I'd wish to go on record about this, that this is an indictment of us as a leadership in this country, that we are in an extremely difficult place where, if we are not careful, not many countries have gotten to this point and turned back. There are some that 20, 30, 50 years are still trying to turn back, actually, after moments such as this. Therefore, this calls for introspection. This calls for a rethink. This calls for serious empathy on our part as a leader. And I have said this many times on the floor of this House, Mr. Speaker, that the challenges that we face as a country, on many occasions, we have very limited choice. First, in terms of whether to tackle or not, but second and most importantly, on what has been our input as any individual who's in a position of responsibility to get the country to a better space. Therefore, as I begin, Mr. Speaker, I'd wish to personally, and this is at a personal level, not even necessarily as Senator for Kericho, Majority Leader, but just as a leader and somebody who God has granted the opportunity to serve in a position of responsibility in this country, to tender my unreserved apology to the country for, either by commission or omission, everything that I have contributed into getting us into the mess and the place that we are in. I have reflected deeply the last few days, Mr. Speaker, and looked through my own journey as an individual and asked myself very serious questions, trying to wear the shoes of the ordinary citizens and how they feel at this particular moment about me as a person. I don't want to focus about any other individual, whichever office they occupy, but just me, a citizen of this country, that God in his own wisdom granted the opportunity to serve in a place of responsibility and try to retrace my steps. What is it that perhaps I should have done better? I have to be sincere, Mr. Speaker, that there were days in the night that I contemplated even quitting and said, perhaps maybe other people can do it. But this is not the time to quit. Because quitting doesn't solve. It doesn't get us out of the hole that you already are in. If it's about getting out and running away, Mr. Speaker, you first sort the mess that you created. I'm afraid, Mr. Speaker, that I know that is the agony that many of our colleagues have thought through. And therefore, just to bring the country up to speed and appreciate why the Senate of the Republic of Kenya is seated this morning, is that we had a session yesterday in the afternoon where we sat down as a Senate of the Republic of Kenya off camera, not in this chamber, but seated somewhere together and reasoned and said, what is it that we can make as our contribution? We are deeply embarrassed, Mr. Speaker, that it has taken young children to point to us that you are naked as our leaders. Extremely troubling. A moment that, to many of the people that I listened to yesterday in the afternoon as leaders shared their experiences and what has been the last few weeks, I realized that we are in extraordinary times, and ordinary solutions that we have proposed in the past cannot work this time. Unless we are serious, unless we are genuine, unless we are honest, unless we mean it, let us not begin this conversation in this house this morning, Mr. Speaker. And I'd wish to put it on record that I come 100% willing and committed, standing before the Senate and the Republic of Kenya, knowing well that one way or the other, I have made a contribution that I am ready to be persuaded and to be led jointly, first of all, by the leaders that are here and by the things that we are being told by the people that are speaking in the public spaces and the conversation that's going on in the country, Mr. Speaker, on what we need to do to redeem and win back our country so that people can reflect back. And therefore, we have come up with this motion, Mr. Speaker. This is just but the beginning of guiding the country towards solutions. And we'd wish to make a certain number of requests to you as our leader, Mr. Speaker, together with the office of the clerk that is here, that as members will be speaking, let it be known that many of them will take time to paint the state of the nation. That's why we have titled this motion, The State of the Nation, as it is, with no filters, with no embarrassments, Mr. Speaker, pointing and saying things as they are, that this is what is wrong, this is what we hear, and spend the remainder or the latter part of their conversation, Mr. Speaker, in proposing solutions. There are those that we can do within us as the Senate. There are those that we can do as a legislature, which is us and the National Assembly. There are things and solutions that we are being asked to make a change at the level of the executive. We will make the recommendation. There are those that constitutionally mandated institutions, Mr. Speaker, have to do. And we have to interact with them and guide, Mr. Speaker, how they do it. Because like I have already pointed out, Mr. Speaker, these are not normal times. And normal solutions will not get us out of this problem at this particular time, Mr. Speaker. Therefore, the request that we make to you is that get us staffers of Parliament who will classify, as members speak, all these challenges that you are speaking to and cluster them into the various thematic areas so that we are ready and willing to work whatever time over and above the call of duty, beyond even 6:30, Mr. Speaker, if that is what it will take, because unfortunately, we don't have time. That is the other thing that the young people are telling us. That's the other thing that I hear when I listen to what the country is saying. We are willing and ready to work, Mr. Speaker, so that we classify all these challenges and the various solutions that we are prescribing. Some of them have been suggested by other people outside the precincts of this House. Many others will be shared by these members because there are senior people here. There are people who are experienced. They know what the challenges are and they know what the contribution can be. Therefore, Mr. Speaker, I want to appreciate the meeting that happened yesterday in the afternoon, where we agreed that not even apportioning blame at this particular time will rescue anybody. When the protesters showed up, Mr. Speaker, in Parliament last week, none of us was spared. And I'd like to say, rightly so. Because much as we may have wished that, oh, deal with the National Assembly, they're the ones who are handling the finance bill, they don't care. They just know that you're leaders. And you're the ones who, by whatever means that is possible, have done this or the other. And therefore we say that as a Senate, as we begin our reflection in the next few days, as we propose solutions, far-reaching implications, answers to questions that we are being asked as a people, in both our private and public spaces, Mr. Speaker. Because this conversation has not spared anybody. And it hasn't taken the traditional definitions or characterizations that we know about issues in this country. Nothing to do with religion, nothing to do with the tribe, nothing to do with class, Mr. Speaker. These are unique challenges that have caught over all of us. Mr. Speaker, therefore, we request that when we get our staffers to classify the challenges as they will be enlisted by the various members, say, for example, on the issue of corruption, and this is the proposals that are being made, if our staffers can serve as the rapporteurs, Mr. Speaker, so that later on when we sit to reflect and make our decisions, once we've classified all the issues into the various thematic areas, Mr. Speaker, we will retreat and reconvene as a House, Mr. Speaker, to make the various far-reaching recommendations. Whatever it is that as Parliament we need to do, if it is a change of law, we are willing to do it in record time, Mr. Speaker, and I know we have your cooperation, Mr. Speaker, and you will help us make that. If it is a resolution of the House specific to the various constitutional commissions and independent office holders, Mr. Speaker, we will make a resolution. Because there are two ways in which Parliament makes decisions, Mr. Speaker. We either vote on a bill or we resolve on a matter and give it as a resolution of the House. We intend to pursue whatever means it will take, Mr. Speaker, to heal the country and make us better as we are being challenged in the last few days, Mr. Speaker. The country is complaining of a broken system, Mr. Speaker, that nothing works. Absolutely nothing. That this is a rigged economy where only those with proximity to power and the advantage unduly given to them by the spaces they occupy